How much stock should I give my startup team? Building a great team and then retaining a great team are the most important things you'll do as CEO. The problem is, most CEOs don't know how to develop an employee stock plan that makes sense. That's what today's video is all about. In today's video, I'll share with you the mistakes you don't want to make, and I'll share with you the plan for correcting these mistakes and allocating stock and stock options to your team correctly. I hope you like it. Hi, I'm Brett. On my channel, I help early stage startup CEOs like you raise money and grow your startup. So if this sounds like you, then hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified every time I release a new video. Let's get started. Today's video is broken into two parts. Part one is all about the mistakes you don't want to make allocating stock and stock options to your team. Part two is a stock allocation plan you can follow. I hope you like it. So let's start with part one, the stock allocation mistakes you don't want to make. And let's go to number one on our list. Number one, you don't have a vesting schedule even for founder equity. Let's say you have two co-founders and you split the company's equity evenly between you. So each of you have 33% of the equity. Now, let's say one of your co-founders quits. And let's say there's no vesting schedule for the equity. Now you have 1/3 of the company owned by a founder no longer in the company. It's what's called dead equity, and this is a huge problem. Your equity and your founder's equity need to have what's called a reverse vesting schedule. It means you are granted the amount of equity up front, but the equity has to vest over time, typically 4 years with a 1-year cliff at the start. This protects the company and its investors, just in case a founder quits prematurely. Now, let's move to number two on our list. Number two, not differentiating between a founder's investment equity and founder employee equity. Let's say that you and your co-founder each want to invest $50,000 in the company to get it off the ground. And let's say that you and your co-founder have agreed to a 60%, 40% split of your equity as founders. The classic mistake is you still divide the equity from an investment on a 60-40 basis with the equity vesting over time. The 60-40 split with reverse vesting makes sense for your equity as founders. However, the $50,000 you each invested needs to be treated as an investment. It should be classified as preferred stock, just like an investment, because it is an investment. In this case, let's say you each get 5% ownership for your $50,000. Just as importantly, investments don't have vesting schedules, and the percentage ownership for the investment should be the same for each of you because there's no difference between your money and your co-founder's money. This means your ownership and your co-founder's ownership will be as follows. You will own 5% as an investor plus 54% as a founder for 59% total. And your co-founder will own 5% as an investor plus 36% as a founder for 41% total. Now, let's move to number three on our list. Number three, wide variations for the same position. You've started recruiting your team and you start making offers to candidates. I can guarantee you there will be a candidate that overvalues themselves versus other candidates, and this candidate asks for twice the equity of the other candidates for the same position. You really want the candidate to join the company, so you agree to give them the 2 times equity, and you're ecstatic when they join the company. You've now created 2 problems. The first problem is you'll run out of equity too soon. I'll go into more detail on this in number 5 on our list. The second problem is the other employees will find out you've overpaid because it will come out. It always comes out, and they'll be upset. Now they want their equity increased or they'll quit. So now you have to pay way above market to keep your team intact. Even if you do give more equity to everyone, the damage to the company will have been done. Now, let's move to number 4 on the list. Number 4, you give too much equity to the wrong people. Let's say you fill out your executive team after funding closes, hiring a VP marketing, VP operation, and a VP sales, giving them 1% each. Now, it's 2 years later, and each of these executives has failed. The VP marketing quit, and you fired the VP operations and VP sales. Each executive decided to exercise their stock options, so 1.5% of the company's equity is now given to employees no longer with the company. It's not the end of the world, but it adds up, leading to the final problem on our list. Number 5 on the list. Number 5. You run out of equity. I know you're asking, I can't run out of equity, can I? Oh, yes, you can. Let me explain how. You will need to have an employee stock option pool where you allocate stock options to the non-founders you hire. Typically, you and your investors will agree on the amount of the pool and the amount of time the option pool is expected to last. Let's say you and your investors agree that you will allocate 20% of the equity to your option plan, and they expect the option pool to last 2 years. Now, because you've given too many options for the same positions, given options to employees that haven't worked out, and maybe hired too quickly, you've run out of stock options. So you have to go back to the board and ask them to increase the option pool well before they expected. I can just about guarantee you that your investors and board members are not going to be happy. Now, let's move to how you can keep these problems from happening in part 2 of the video. Part 2, a stock allocation plan you can follow. And let's go to number 1 on this part of the list. You need a detailed hiring plan. You have virtually no chance of correctly allocating stock options if you don't have a detailed hiring plan. Your plan should have the following 2 components. First, what positions you are going to hire by month for the next 5 years. Yes, you heard me, the next 5 years. Your plan should be tied to milestones such as revenue and cash. Second, you should have stock option percentages assigned to each position. This will give you a good idea of how much equity you're going to need for any given time period. For example, my investors asked me how much equity I needed for my hiring plan for the next 12 months, and I told them 8%. They gave me a 10% option pool for the 12 months after our funding closed. Now, let's move to number 2 on my list. Number 2, you need consistency. The great thing about my investors giving me an option pool that was going to last 12 months was I immediately internalized that giving stock options to employees is not like giving away candy. Giving stock options has a price. You want to have a minimum and maximum range for each position. We had good intelligence on the going rate and salary and stock for the positions we were hiring. You should be able to do the same thing. We also track the offer acceptances and offer rejections. If something changed, we spoke about it and we adjusted our range. This leads to the next point. Number 3, you need an agreement how long your stock option pool will last. Fortunately, my investors, Gil and Raul, were very experienced. They asked me how much I needed, and then they gave me a little more, just in case I needed it. However, there was an unsaid message they were giving me. Don't use this up earlier than we expect unless there is a very good reason. Managing your stock option plan correctly is a sign of your management skills. And this leads to the next item on our list. Number 4, you need discipline. I've talked about this throughout today's video, but successfully managing your stock option plan is all about discipline. You need to have discipline to create a hiring plan and stick to it. You need discipline to not hire employees outside the range you've allocated for a position. And you need discipline to hire employees that are going to last. Now, let's go to the final and maybe the most important part of a successful employee stock plan. Number 5, you need a plan that retains your employees. The typical employee stock option agreement lasts 4 years. If you don't give your employees more stock options after 4 years, they will leave. I saw this contrast at 2 companies I worked at. The first company, Maxim Integrated Products, generously gave employees follow-on stock option grants, so they always had a financial reason to stay. The second company in the same industry, Micrel, didn't give its employees generous follow-on stock option grants. The result was employees typically left after 4 years. You want to push hard on your investors to allocate a significant amount of stock options for employee retention. You should have the option amounts in the employee plan I talked about in the first step. If this content is resonating with you, then please hit the like button right now. One final thought. How you give stock says more about you as a leader than almost anything else. It shows whether you act on impulse or with intention. The best CEOs are generous, but their generosity has structure. You want to be disciplined and generous at the same time. Before you grant any more stock, ask yourself, would I still be happy with this decision after my next 3 rounds of funding? When you can answer yes, you are leading with both heart and discipline. And that is what earns lasting trust from your team and your investors. Now, I've got 2 more things for you today. Are you looking for CEO advice that you can trust? That's why I started Zero to Pitch Gold. I've been a startup CEO and I know how important it was that I had someone I could turn to that I could trust. In my daily office hours, you can bring me your pitch, your deck, and your business questions, and I will give you direct and honest feedback. Scan the QR code to join. Second, if you want help fixing your pitch, then just watch this free 20-minute training. All you need to do is click the link over my left shoulder. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Thanks for watching today. Take care. Bye.